Hello, Embrace Creatives. This is Fernando Del Rosario. I'm here again for episode 5 of this video podcast. Just a little recap of who I am. I am a fellow artist, as you are. I am also a creative director and CEO of my marketing, advertising, and design company. And one of the objectives and the idea behind this video podcast is, being able to share with you this community, the Embrace Creative community, the balance between being an artist and using my background in marketing and advertising on how I can help my artist side of me as far as how do I advertise and market um, my gallery showings, my art, my workshops, and so on, and how I'm able to apply a lot of the basic fundamentals of marketing and advertising that I do for my clients into my art. So that's the point of these video podcasts that I'm doing. So we are now in episode 5, so I'm very, very excited for this. Um, and as in the past, I try to start this video with a question, to kind of set our topic up. So today's question is, what's your process? Now, every single one of us have a process on how we create our art, right? And in every show, in every gallery shows that I do, or lectures that I've done when I'm talking about my art, people ask me all the time, um, how do you do what you do? And what do you start with? Or, do you have trouble doing that? Do you have trouble creating the art that you make? Or the best one, one of the better ones is how long does it take you to do this art? So right behind me is one of my art pieces that I've currently doing, and so it's meticulous and it's detail oriented, and so people are always really interested in my process, as I'm sure people are interested in your process and how you create your craft and art, painting, drawing, sculpting, whatever it might be. And the reason why people are so interested in our process is that is their way of trying to engage with our creativity. That's their way. That's the public's way of trying to understand on how our brain works, and that's really, really intriguing. If you think about it, every artist has a very intriguing mind. In order for us to create what we create, um, we have something that not everybody has, and so through that interest, people want to know how we create what we create, what's our process, and understanding you yourself know your process intimately, obviously. But the trick is that how do we convey our process with to people? How do we share that process without boring someone, without having them having them get lost in the minutia of our process? And so it goes back to the idea of telling your story, telling your narrative. Your process should be part of your narrative, right? How you get from your ideas, from your brain to a sketch, to a canvas, or to a sculpture, being able to speak to that, telling that story. And through that sharing of your process is built in marketing, right? That's all this is. It's like every time we speak to our our audience, our consumers, our customers, it's marketing. And being able to articulate your process, it's all marketing. And every single one of us, every single one of you, has your way of telling your process. And the trick is to practice. Share your process with your spouse, your siblings, your friend, your mom, your dad, your dog, right? Just get used to talking about how you create things. And there's no one way to do it. People ask me all the time, so do you start with a pattern, Fernando? Or do you start with a sketch? Or do you start with a quote? Or do you start with what type of comic books? Or, with some of my paintings, do you start with a subject matter? And my answer is always yes, all the above. But I don't ever stop there, right? Because that's kind of just not very interesting, right? Um, because it turns into almost like just a rhetorical question. And so I dive deeper and I say, yeah, there's times that I just look at a blank canvas for hours or days at a time. And maybe I sketch an idea on a sketchbook. There's times where I am usually out of frustration. I just start, because I overthink it. And there's times where it's it's very formulaic, you know. And so through that level of reveal, my audience or the person that I'm talking to um, gets invested into my story, into my narrative, into my art. And so when that person ended up purchasing an art piece, or they talk about the show that they went to, then they bring my story to life with their friends and through their network. But I plant that seed of the story. And the story for this purpose is my process. So, so what's your process? And I'm curious on how you start, and all the different myriad ways on how you start. So, so that ends this topic. What I would love to do as we continue to move forward with this is that I would love for you to ask me questions. So, what's your question? What are your questions, I should say? I would love to start these video blogs with a question to answer, and I'll share with you my answer, a bit of a narrative behind my answer, but ultimately in the end, really answer your question. I want to be helpful. I want this video blog to be helpful to this community, and the best way for me to know that it will be helpful for you is that if you ask me very specific questions on what you want to know. How can I help you with my background in marketing and advertising? How can I help you with your narrative, with your marketing for your art, or whatever it is that you're trying to market? As always, I'm extremely thankful for your time, and I look forward to continuing this with you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to your next conversation.